The bad boss is my online dating partner. After working for 2 years, my days had become dull and monotonous. Living a life that consisted solely of going between work and home made me feel utterly bored. Then, by chance, I met a guy online who turned out to be someone I really clicked with, and that's how a sweet online romance began. Every day, we'd chat from morning till night. I often vented to him about Lu Feng the boss, who was both stingy and strict. In my heart, Lu Feng was nothing but a downright villain. He had a bad temper, high expectations, and always seemed to skimp on employees' rest time. All my frustrations at work, I poured out to this gentle online boyfriend. After spending some time together, I suggested we meet in person, but the other person kept repeatedly dodging the idea. At first I was patient and waited patiently, but after doing so several times, I couldn't help feeling increasingly hurt and frustrated. So I just made up my mind. I decided to break up. There's no point wasting time on someone who's unwilling to show their face. Then one day, as I was busily working at the office as usual, Lu Feng suddenly stepped in front of me. Calmly, he pulled out his phone, opened our chat window, and softly asked, "Are we okay now?" I froze on the spot, my mind going completely blank. I simply couldn't believe that the boss whom had been complaining about every single day, the so-called bad guy, was actually the gentle and caring online boyfriend I'd fallen for. At the department meeting at noon, the atmosphere was oppressively tense. My colleagues and I all kept our heads down, afraid to meet Lu Feng's gaze as he sat at the head of the table. His expression was so grim and menacing that it felt as though everyone owed him millions. Bang! Lu Feng slammed the folder down hard and punched the chair, venting his anger. The sudden noise made me jump, sending a cold sweat trickling down my back and leaving my legs trembling. "You're all so talented. Do you ever leave home without your brains?" With so many people unable to even draft a single contract properly, yet rushing straight into signing it. With gaping holes in the content, absolutely no rigor, I'd say none of you even want to keep going anymore. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of his cold stare. Quickly, I lowered my head and pretended to be reflecting on my behavior while secretly sending a message to my online boyfriend under the table. "Honey, I'm about to explode." I stayed up late revising that contract several times, only to get blasted by the boss for being worthless. He even said he wants me to just get out of here. She is seriously driving me crazy. Wow. As soon as the message was sent, Lu Feng's phone on the table began to ring repeatedly with notification tones. My heart skipped a beat, and I immediately sat up straight, pretending nothing had happened. He'd been wearing an angry expression just moments ago, but after glancing at his phone, his face actually softened and even took on a faint blush. He unbuttoned a single button on his chest, glanced sideways at me with a teasing look in his eyes, as if He'd already seen through my little trick. "All right, everyone out. If we don't have the contract finalized by this afternoon, no one's leaving work, not a single soul. Dismissed." Trembling with anxiety, I followed my colleague out of the conference room, and everyone immediately erupted into a flurry of chatter. This is so weird. I was already bracing myself for a scolding. How come they suddenly let him go? The boss's mood changes faster than an opera singer's expression. Could it be that the boss's girlfriend sent him a message to smooth things over? As I listened to all the gossip, my heart sank. Back at my desk, I saw a reply from my boyfriend. "Honey, you've been treated unfairly. This boss is such a jerk. It'll teach him a lesson for you." My gloomy mood was instantly lifted, and he sent me another message. "I've drafted countless contracts and have plenty of experience. If you're not sure how to make changes, just ask me. I'll share all my knowledge with you." My eyes lit up, and I felt nothing but admiration. "Really? You're amazing. Please teach me right away." "Of course. Helping my girl is my greatest honor." At that moment, I became even more certain he truly was the ideal boyfriend. Our acquaintance began with a ridiculously dramatic gaming encounter. That day, my friend and I were playing a game when we were matched up against a master player named Zion, who was incredibly skilled. I was playing as a healer, a role am notoriously bad at and several times ended up dragging him into defeat. Unable to hold back any longer, he turned on his mic and vented, "Do you even have eyes on top of your head? Instead of focusing on healing properly as a healer, you keep hiding behind me. What's that all about?" I felt guilty and didn't dare to say a word, and my friend just stared silently at our dismal record. Later, we dragged him into playing a few more rounds, unable to resist the allure of winning, and from then on, every weekend we'd all log in together, bickering and joking around. Then my friend and I got hooked on a new game and completely forgot about this account. One day, I was losing game after game in a new title, so frustrated that I was pounding my chest and kicking my feet. I was just about to ask a pro player to take me under their wing when suddenly Zion appeared out of nowhere. "What's the matter? Did you find the old game not fun enough and now you're trying to hook up with other guy?" Seeing his familiar traveler, I instinctively felt nervous, not because I was attracted to him, but because I'd been scared of getting scolded by him before. "Zion, what are you doing here? How did you even find me? What a coincidence." "There's nothing coincidental about it. I asked your friend for your account." "Why do you need my account?" "Because I can't find anyone as bad at this game as you anymore." I inwardly complained that he was still as sharp-tongued as ever, but I couldn't help but argue aloud, "This game is really tough. Don't let me lose any stars." He chuckled softly and said, "Girl, I could play this with my feet and still outperform you. Let's get started." Unexpectedly in this round, he didn't yell at me once and even handed over his best gear to me. Every time I found myself in trouble, HED deftly come to my rescue. Instantly, my opinion of him changed. Then he suggested we team up as a couple, and without a second thought, I agreed, just thinking it would make the game more convenient, never realizing what he truly meant by it. Later, I took the initiative to add him on social media and we started chatting every day, gradually deepening our feelings. Summoning up my courage, I confessed, "I like you, would you be my boyfriend?" He replied, "You've been my girlfriend all along, otherwise, why would we have formed a couple?" It was only then that I finally realized HED actually been confessing his feelings ever since we first became a couple. I explained that I wanted to officially solidify our relationship and didn't want to start something without clarity. He said, "Don't worry. Well, never break up." Taking the opportunity, I suggested, "Then, let's meet up. Let's have dinner and officially confirm our relationship." But he always made excuses to put it off, saying he had to visit his hospitalized brother, though I felt disappointed. I understood and agreed to meet again another time, yet my woman's intuition told me something was right, though I couldn't quite put my finger on it. Soon after, he sent me a message, "Hey girl, do you like gold? I saw a friend buy his girlfriend a golden bracelet. It looked really nice. So I'm going to get one for you too." Thinking it was just a little trinket, I happily agreed. Just then, my colleague called out to me, saying that Lu Feng was looking for me. I quickly ended the chat and nervously walked into the office. Lu Feng had an inexplicably ambiguous smile on his face, which made my heart race. I immediately started frantically recalling whether I'd done anything wrong. He instructed Rosie, "Tomorrow you're coming with me on a business trip to Xianyang. Book the flight and pack your bags." After finishing his sentence, he waved me away without giving me a chance to say a word. I couldn't help but mutter inwardly, "If it's something important, just call me. Why make me run all the way here for nothing? It's like treating me like a dog being taken for a walk." On the day of my business trip, I struggled to walk with my heavy luggage. Lu Feng offered to help me, and though I repeatedly declined, he insisted nonetheless. As the plane took off, my ears felt painfully blocked and I couldn't hear anything. Lu Feng noticed this carefully and quietly suggested that yawning could help relieve the pressure. After following his advice, the discomfort immediately subsided, so I quickly thanked him and then closed my eyes to rest. After we got off the plane, Lu Feng asked me where I'd booked the hotel. It was only then that I suddenly remembered I'd been so sure HED take care of it that I'd completely forgotten to make the reservation myself. Seeing his gloomy expression, I started trembling with fear. I immediately grabbed my phone and tried to book a room, but all the hotels were already fully booked for the National Day holiday. Just as I was frantically panicking, Lu Feng said, "Forget it, let's just crash at the Bathish for one night. We can't exactly sleep on the streets, can we?" I worried that I wouldn't get any good sleep, but I had no other choice. Meanwhile, Lu Feng casually hailed a taxi for himself, acting as if I were the boss and he were the errand boy. I couldn't help but vent to my online boyfriend, honey. I really got myself into a big mess on this business trip. I forgot to book a hotel and even asked the boss to take a taxi. I feel so guilty. He comforted me gently. It's okay. It's no big deal. Just be more careful next time. My sense of guilt eased up considerably. After resting at the Bathish, Lu Feng was exhausted from a long day of rushing around. He got a massage and, noticing that I was feeling bored, arranged one for me as well. When the massage was over, he booked 2 rooms. Just as I was about to enter my room, he suddenly pressed his hand against the door and said awkwardly, "I didn't expect the staff to be dressed so revealingly. I usually give very professional massages," I casually replied. And he realized how abrupt his remark had been. He quickly turned around and headed back to his own room. The next day, we had a smooth negotiation and successfully signed the contract. That evening, our partners threw a banquet. After 3 rounds of drinks, everyone started teasing me on Lu Feng, saying that General Lu always brought along a beautiful woman on business trips. What good fortune he had. I felt completely uncomfortable and excused myself from the private room, sending a message to my boyfriend. "Honey, the people here are talking so strangely, I'm really scared." He replied, "Don't pay attention to them. If you're scared, just give me a call." After chatting for a few minutes, my nerves began to calm down, and when I returned to the private room, the atmosphere had already returned to normal. After finishing our meal and returning to the hotel, Lu Feng suggested staying an extra day so I could relax and enjoy myself. He, who's usually tight-fisted, suddenly became surprisingly generous. So much so that I couldn't help but wonder if he had ulterior motives. I said to my boyfriend, "Our boss definitely isn't being nice for no reason. Why would he suddenly let me take a whole day off? He's always been incredibly stingy. I just want to go straight home." But my boyfriend jumped to his defense, saying maybe he just wanted me to get some rest. The more I thought about it, the stranger I felt, so I pressed him, "Why do you always side with him?" Only then did he quickly join in and start complaining about Lu Feng along with me. The more I thought about it, the more something felt off. I insisted on booking a flight home for the next day and asked him to pick me up at the airport, but he kept making excuses, saying he needed to comfort his brother who was sulking. I was utterly furious and confronted him, asking if he didn't want to see me, or maybe he was too embarrassed by how he looked to show himself. After sending that message, he didn't reply for a long time. Finally, it dawned on me, all those gentle gestures had been nothing but lies. Overwhelmed with disappointment and hurt, I decisively deleted him from my contacts and blocked him. Then I hid under the covers, secretly shedding tears. After all, we'd spent so much time together. Even without ever meeting in person, that deep feelings had already developed between us. Before long, there was a knock on the door, growing louder and louder. Then Lu Feng's voice came through Rosie. "Open the door. I've got something to talk to you about." I forced myself to suppress my hurt feelings and opened the door. Lu Feng was holding a pile of snacks, saying he'd specially bought them to reward me for all the hard work during my business trip. To avoid any suspicion, I left the door wide open. As he reached out to close it, I immediately gave him a wary look, ready to bolt at any moment. Lu Feng shook his head helplessly, pulled out his phone, opened the chat interface, and handed it to me. "Let's make up, shall we?" he said again. I was completely stunned. Only after a long pause did I finally snap out of it, staring at him in disbelief, unable to believe this was real. Lu Feng explained with a frustrated expression that HED originally planned to find the right moment to confess, but never imagined things would escalate to this point. For a moment, I just scowled and accepted. I told him to leave for now and asked him to give me some time alone to think things over. Early the next morning, Lu Feng came to see me with dark circles under his eyes. Seeing that he'd calmed down quite a bit, he suggested we go out and have some fun before our flight tickets got changed. I nodded in agreement, secretly plotting how I'd get even with him. We headed to the mall, and I deliberately pulled him into a jewelry store, pretending to be really fond of gold. Lu Feng immediately caught on and chuckled, telling me to pick whatever I liked, fulfilling his promise to treat me to a gold bracelet. I pretended to be reserved, but in the end, I chose a pricey gold necklace adorned with a 4- leaf clover. As I glanced at the purchase confirmation, I cowled in to help but feel secretly delighted. Then, citing my old phone as an excuse, I persuaded him to buy me the latest model smartphone. Finally, I even picked out a designer handbag. This was the first time he'd ever shopped without any hesitation. Before, with my meager salary, he'd never dared to splurge like this. That evening, I took the initiative to treat him to hot pot. Although Lu Feng isn't much of a fan of spicy food, he still quietly stayed by my side, eating until his forehead was drenched in sweat yet never complaining at all. When I returned to work, my colleagues immediately noticed the gold necklace around my neck and started teasing me, saying I must have struck it rich. I explained that I'd bought the gold necklace to ward off bad luck since this was my zodiac year of birth. Just then, Lu Feng happened to pass by, and he gave me a knowing smile. After work, Lu Feng suggested that I move in with him, saying it was close to the office and would save me on rent. I deliberately hesitated and jokingly asked him to get me a car instead. To my surprise, he actually pulled out his car keys and said he rarely drove anyway, so HED let me use the car for transportation. I was both surprised and delighted. He gently told me that it was only natural for him to go the extra mile for his girlfriend. I gladly accepted his words. And ever since then, every weekend Lu Feng would come over to my place and tidy up the house. I've never been much of a homebody. My place was always a mess, and when he first came over, he was quite taken aback. From then on, he took it upon himself to handle all the household chores. I teased him, saying, "Whoever marries you is truly blessed," to which he replied tenderly, "This blessing belongs solely to me." Time flies, and suddenly it's winter. Soon the spring festival holiday will be upon us. Lu Feng made travel plans in advance and mysteriously led me to a snowy paradise. The mountains are covered in dazzling white snow, and the hot springs here are renowned far and wide. Lu Feng had already prepared for me an exquisite lace swimsuit, a stark contrast to his usually crisp and businesslike style. As we soaked in the private hot spring, we reminisced about past memories and eagerly dreamed about the future. After soaking in the hot springs, we headed to a restaurant with an especially atmospheric vibe. Sitting by the window, I had a perfect view of the snowy landscape. Just as I was savoring my delicious meal, the waiter brought over a delicate little box. Confused, I looked at Lu Feng, who gestured for me to open it. Inside the box lay a tiny diamond ring. It shimmered brilliantly under the lights. Before I could even recover from my shock, Lu Feng had already dropped to one knee, holding a ring in his hand as he confessed with deep emotion, "Rosie, will you marry me?" My mind went completely blank, leaving only a heart full of deep emotion. I found myself nodding automatically, without thinking. Lu Feng smiled as he slipped the ring onto my finger and softly said, "Once you've said yes, you can't take it back. In this romantic world of ice and snow, we made a lifelong promise to stay together forever." Soon after our wedding, we welcomed a pair of adorable twins. Our son looked just like me, while our daughter resembled him. Hand in hand, we've walked through countless years together, from the initial spark of online romance to the joyful surprise of revealing our true identities, and then through the everyday routines of cooking, cleaning, and caring for our family. In the end, we fulfilled that beautiful vow, holding your hand. You'll grow old by your side.